Welcome to BlatherCast. This is Dave.
And this is John. This is BlatherCast Comics.
Oh yeah, BlatherCast Comics.
Right. Because we're a whole media enterprise with multiple shows. Like
Multiple channels.
Yeah. More than one counts as multiple, right?
Last time when we our last show together, we didn't mention subscribe to our YouTube channel. You could check out BlatherCastComics.com. Is that it? And our Twitter and all that stuff. We didn't say any of that. We just ended the show.
Yeah, I do. I did realize that. I didn't do it on my review either. But I was like, hey, other people have a little subscribe button come up at the end of the video.
Yeah.
So I turned that on all of our videos now. So if we forget to say it, it actually shows up on the screen and they can just click on it to subscribe.
Oh, okay, cool.
So, little tip for other people. Yeah, whatever. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, we're still learning how to do this stuff. We're still learning how to do this stuff. So that's cool. And thanks to all our subscribers on YouTube. And I think we're at like 24 now. And all the people that listen to the podcast. We had a lot of downloads, one of the episodes, I think. So that's cool.
Yeah, episode 2 and episode 3 are doing okay. And we've got almost 3 times as many subscribers to the podcast as the YouTube channel, but less listens.
Okay.
If we want to get into statistics, our views on our YouTube channel are, well, it depends on what episode you're talking about, I suppose. It doesn't matter.
So what do you want to talk about today? You want to go first today?
Yeah, so I had the Wonder Woman Earth 1 book. That's a graphic novel by Grant Morrison, and it was drawn by a couple people that I don't remember. And it's been sitting on my shelf since 2016 when it came out, and I have never read it.
Mm-hmm.
So I, cracked it open, had to take the cellophane off of it and everything.
So the Earth 1 is like a line of hardcovers, and then they do trades, but they're original graphic novels, and they're set in their own continuity.
Yeah, so it's a whole other universe, DC universe, and it's just graphic novels. I think there's like 7 of them out now.
Yeah, and I think this week we're going to get a Green Lantern Earth 1.
Yes.
It's like the next one, so.
Yeah.
Cool.
So there's 3 Superman volumes, 2 Batman volumes, 2 Teen Titan volumes, and a Wonder Woman volume.
Cool.
And now a Green Lantern. So I guess that would be 9 this week.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I open up the book, and it starts off. First thing I want to say, and I'm going to spoil Black Panther a little bit because I want to run some comparisons between the Black Panther movie and this book, because the storyline is pretty close.
Well, because you have Black Panther, who's a king of a nation, and then you have Wonder Woman and her island that's secluded too. So
right, so they're both secluded. They have that in common. Check.
Okay. Check.
They both have a group of minorities on the island, or in their seclusion. Wonder Woman, actually, they check off 2 of those boxes. So they have all women and they're all lesbians.
Uh-huh.
If that question was ever came up in Earth 1, the question's answered. They're all lesbians.
Okay.
There is a scene, they have this big party, the Day of Diana or whatever. And it's like a several day festival celebrating the princess, and yeah, everybody parties hard and they're doing all kinds of weird stuff. Chicks are wearing uh, deer suits and stuff and tying each other up. It's crazy. Yeah, bondage, S&M bondage. It's yeah,
Well, I mean, that's what Wonder Woman was in the beginning. Uh,
a
the
lesbian.
creator, no, the creator was all into bondage and stuff, and uh, had basically two wives. He had a wife and a girlfriend, and they were all into that kind of stuff, and that's what he put into Wonder Woman. I mean, I think if you Wonder Woman, I would say, yeah, she's at least bisexual. She would be
Well, it makes
on an island full of women and never saw a man until Steve Trevor. Like, right?
right. So that part makes perfect. I mean, it makes perfect sense that they're
Okay.
lesbians. But I mean, if there was ever a question about it in Earth One, they're definitely lesbians. Like it's
Yeah.
mentioned, they say it. I'm not just saying this from the pictures. They like talk about it.
Hmm.
So that question's answered. Um, they both in Black Panther and in Wonder Woman, there is uh, a question about what they want to do about the outside world. In Wonder Woman, it's only Wonder Woman who has this question. Where in Black Panther, several characters all have their own opinion,
Hmm.
about how the outside world should be approached. They both have a catalyst that helps make the decision for them. In the Black Panther, it was the theft of a Wakandan artifact from a museum. And in Wonder Woman, it was Steve Trevor crashing his plane. Uh, their Her healing ray that they have on the island only works on women. So she jumps into the battle that her, the arena battle that her mother forbade her to fight in or win. She didn't forbid her to fight, but she forbid her to win. Like they do it every year and she loses every year. Because it's unfair to for her to win for whatever reason. And so she beats the girl and Mala, which is actually her lover also, which they disclose in the book.
Okay.
And is like, I want her plane. I you know, so that's how she gets the invisible plane. So she gets the plane, runs down, grabs Steve Trevor, throws him in the plane, and takes him back to man's world to save his life. So that's the catalyst in that book. So she goes out and sees the world. Uh, she decides that it kind of sucks. She doesn't really like it. She saves a bus full of. Yeah, she decides it sucks and she's going to head back. And she ends up saving a bus full of sorority girls. And ends up becoming. She goes for what. And this part I don't really understand. But she goes back to the sorority house with these girls and they do a makeover on her. And I'm not really sure
Mhm.
why that was
Was
important
there
to
any like?
the story,
Was there any?
but she develops a bond with this really fat blonde chick in the
Was there any
sorority.
hazing? Was there any hazing going on?
That was the hazing, the makeover.
Oh, it's so awful.
That's actually what they actually said
Really?
that in the book. So it's funny that you brought that up.
God.
So they go get Steve Trevor and or go see Steve Trevor and the army comes and like I don't understand the motivation of why she goes back to the sorority house with the girls or why she decides to go back and see how Steve Trevor is doing. But she does. And then the army comes and she picks a Jeep up over her head. And they're all just like, holy shit.
Hmm.
And then back on the island, the mom's like, you got to go get Diana and bring her back here. So that happens. And the army guys are like, stand down, stand down. We've seen what one can do. We don't want to mess with the rest of them. And she submits and goes back. Well, they also bring Steve Trevor and the fat chick with them,
For what reason?
witnesses to her trial.
Oh, okay.
Um, the book actually starts off in the trial, and the whole thing is kind of a flashback, sort of like somebody gets up on the stand and then they talk about what happens. That's what the whole book is.
Ah, okay.
Uh, I left that part out. Well, now you know. And
We just did a flashback.
right. So she goes, has her trial, and nobody really wins the trial, or she doesn't win the trial. She wins a trial. I don't know. That was really confusing. And Steve Trevor thought so too. He was like, what the hell is going on right now? And Hippolyte, the queen, says, I'm going to step down. You're the queen now. And this is all a ruse to get her. So if she's the queen, she definitely can't leave the island again.
Right.
And the Amazonian people, specifically one of the elder advisors or whatever named Nubia, which I don't know that name. Was she in the books? Nubia?
Doesn't sound familiar, but I'm not really that, knowledgeable about Wonder Woman history.
So she's like, you can't step down. You're the queen for life. It is written. You're here forever. And they, when they're on the island, they can't die and they don't grow old and stuff.
Right.
So there's the whole struggle over the throne parallel between this and Black Panther.
Hmm.
Um, but she decides not to leave.
Can I ask a question here? When
Sure.
Steve Trevor landed, was it during wartime or is it like modern time?
It's modern time.
And there's no war going on. He was just flying around, or
He was going to do recon because something disappeared near their island.
oh, okay, gotcha.
Um, he's also African American in this version.
Ah, okay.
So, biracial couple. Checkbox checked. Um,
She's so it's a biracial couple, and she's bisexual.
yes, because they kind of allude that she has feelings for Steve Trevor, but it never goes anywhere in this particular volume. Maybe it will in the next one.
Ah,
I don't know. But they allude to her having feelings for him.
hmm.
Um, yeah, so the end of the book, uh, there's a revelation, which there was also a revelation in Black Panther that kind of really upsets Wonder Woman, just like it upset T'Challa. And in Black Panther, it was that his father killed his own brother and left his nephew out to fend for himself in the world,
Hmm.
instead of taking him back to Wakanda when he was a boy. Um, in this, she gets the revelation of who her real father is, and that was really born to be a tool of destruction, and that her mom begs her for forgiveness because she's like, after seeing you grow and stuff, I didn't want that future for you, and now I have to yield,
So
basically.
who's her father?
Hercules.
Hercules. Okay. So
Yep.
like in the current continuity of everything, that was like her half brother.
Right. Yeah, and the new 52 also, right?
Yeah, I think so.
And Zeus was her dad, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I was like, Hercules, that's kind of that guy. I mean, he's Hercules, but come on.
There's bigger dudes out there,
Right.
stronger.
Right. Uh
So what do you say about the book? Good, bad? What do you think? Did you like it?
it was good. I liked it. It was a good read. I was disappointed that there wasn't a ton of action in it. Um, really, picking the thing over her head, the two
Yeah, it seemed
panel, the two
kind of
panel,
boring.
the two panel battle with Mala and catching the bus, and that was it pretty much for the action. And I guess if you want to have her running away, but she basically, and even that, like, so they go to stop her from taking Trevor on the plane and leaving, and
Mhm.
she's like, you can try to stop me, but you might as well not, and just go back and say that you failed. And that's what they do. There's no fight or nothing, and I'm just like, yeah, it was kind of that. I mean, I read through it all and I wasn't bored while I was reading it, but
Mhm.
after I was done with it, I was like, man, nothing, like, there was no action at all in this book. It was just a drama, which is
Did she
that's
did she
okay,
learn
but
anything though? Like did the character learn something? Like I mean obviously she learned about the outside world, but
yes. So this is another way it paralleled with the Black Panther story. She learned that women are still oppressed in the real world, and she wants to go out and help all women.
gotcha.
So that's similar to the Black Panther, where they're like, African Americans are oppressed, and we need to go out in the world and help them. So another parallel. Like, I was just like reading it, and I was like kind of putting it together. I was like, wow, these are really similar storylines.
Mhm.
The catalysts and situations are different, but almost all the same plot points are there.
Mhm.
I'm not saying
Mhm.
that this kind of story is all this time, so neither one of them are really original stories.
No, yeah.
The Lion King is kind of the same story.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking about when
So
you said something about the nephew and any of those kind of stories where there's someone in power or something like that,
right.
and
And
maybe
if
a
I,
brother or an uncle would be left out. I mean,
and if I'd read even more stories, I'm sure I could find even more that are just like have the same plot points. I
do
mean,
you know in the 2011 Thundercats cartoon series, it was like that. Uh, Tigra was adopted, and he the king could not have kids with his wife, and they were trying, but Tiger was like, "Oh, he's going to be the next king," when I pass away. Then Lion-O comes along. They finally get pregnant with Lion-O, and it's a bad pregnancy. The wife dies, and Tigra is like left out basically, and Lion-O is the path to being a king because he's an actual son, biological son. So it was kind of interesting in the cartoon that they did that.
huh. All right. Well, that's all I have to say about Wonder Woman. It was a good book. I'm hoping that they do a volume 2 and that it's better.
There you go. It's been out for a few years though, so
Yeah, I
yeah.
don't.
But these don't come out very often because they are like big original graphic novels. So
They're not that big. It's 3 issues, maybe
You think? Yeah,
three,
three.
maybe
Oh,
four. I mean, they're not
oh,
that
okay.
big. I mean, you've seen them on the shelf. They're not that. They're not that
Yeah,
big.
I've read the Batman ones, and I read like I think the first two Superman ones of Earth One. I'm definitely getting the Green Lantern one though. I'm really excited about that.
Yeah, me too.
So I read Doctor Strange Damnation, and the first two issues of this little series is out, and it's kind of like a little crossover with the Doctor Strange books and a couple other books like Scarlet Spider is going to be in there and Iron Fist. So Damnation is a series that started. Um, it takes place in Las Vegas, and Las Vegas has been destroyed in the aftermath of Secret Empire. And Doc Strange goes there with this plan, like I'm going to restore Las Vegas. Like there's too much of this destruction. I'm going to do something good, but he knows that all magic comes with some sort of price. But he decides that he's going to do it anyway, and he resurrects uh, Las Vegas. Uh, the Avengers team was there when he goes there. They were at a speech of Las Vegas, and they were talking about cleaning up the city and helping. And he just comes in and is like, "Listen, I could do this. I could fix it, and we could get it back right away." So he creates Las Vegas again. It's reborn, and people are happy and they're finding their loved ones. And he brought people back from the dead and all this stuff, like massive power, right? And they're like, "Well, what do you think the consequences are?" And he's like, "Oh, I don't know." And all of a sudden, this big, huge building comes up through the ground, and there's like demons all around and all this stuff. And it's Mephisto, and he has this casino. And Doc Strange goes in. He's like, "What the heck is going on?" And Mephisto's like, "Hey, I didn't want to be here. It's not like I wanted to. All of a sudden, I'm here or whatever." And so it's kind of an interesting story of now that he has this like basically like this huge devil casino and demons running around Las Vegas when maybe he should have just fixed it, you know, like manually instead of using his magic, or thinking about like, hey, for everything good that I do with magic, there's a price to pay. So there's something bad we're gonna have to deal with. So I think it's an interesting kind of concept. At the end, he's basically they're in like a game, and he plays him in cards. Doctor Strange plays Mephisto in cards, and Doctor Strange wins. And it's basically like, if I win, you leave. But then they find out that Doctor Strange actually cheated because he wasn't going to let it up to a card game to determine the fate. And so now, literally, all hell is breaking loose. It's a pretty fun story so far.
Yeah, I like stories that, you know, the devil and everything. Neat.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting.
Uh, all right, and that's the first and second issue of Damnation.
Yeah, there's one and two, and like I said, it's going to tie into a couple other books like Scarlet Spider, and there's going to be like Iron Fist is in it, and all this stuff. They're going to do some one shots with like a Ghost Rider comic as well.
All right. The other book I read the first 5 issues of White Knight by um
Sean Gordon Murphy.
yeah, by Sean Gordon Murphy. I like it so far. Uh I really like the way that Batman, like, I really lose a lot of respect for this particular Batman. And I
Yeah.
know the book is designed to do that,
Hmm.
but it really bugs me that his whole crime fighting vigilante career is subsidized by the taxpayers of Gotham. that really pisses me off. Like, to no end. like,
Mhm.
I don't think farmers should get subsidies. I don't think corporations should get subsidies. I really don't think Batman should get subsidies,
So
especially when he
basically,
doesn't answer to anybody.
in Batman, he's fighting all these criminals and stuff, and there's all kinds of collateral damage, right? And some of the damages is happening in like lower income housing, right? And neighborhoods, and they get destroyed, and then these people come in and like rebuild these housings and stuff like that, right? Isn't that
Yes.
part of the book?
Yeah, so
It's kind of interesting.
the housing, the rebuilt housings get is subsidized by the government also.
Hmm.
And it's like $3 billion a year that the city spends on subsidizing Batman. And it's just it's absurd. And it yeah, I really hope Jack Napier takes him down.
So I'm reading the book, and it's I think I'm one issue ahead because the issue 6 had come out, and I have the feeling like it's cool because it's seeing like Batman isn't really portrayed in such a noble light. I guess he's a hero, but he has a lot of flaws, and I
And
still think
there are a
Jack
lot of
Nape
there are a lot of
Jack
sorry.
I still think the Joker is going to be ultimately the bad guy in this story, though.
Oh, I do too.
Okay.
I do too. I think they've put enough stuff to build that. Like, he's two pills away from snapping, basically.
Right. And I still think all this stuff that he's doing is just literally another game to play with Batman. Like honestly, that's just how I felt.
Yeah, it probably is another long con. I hope that the story, like the last two issues or last issue, because if you remember in issue one, it begins with Jack Napier visiting Batman in Arkham. And he says, Batman, I need your help. And that's how the story starts. And then it's like, how many, and then it flashes back.
Hmm.
And we haven't gone back to that prison scene yet. So eventually it's going to lead to there at some
Yeah.
point.
Once you read the next issue, you'll definitely see the path that they're taking.
Yeah. Yep.
But it's a great story. It does politics very well. It's not preachy or one sided. And the art is phenomenal. And Sean Gordon Murphy really loves to draw cars. So if you like chase scenes and stuff like that, it's really cool.
Yeah, I love his art. It's really it's really good. And I like that this book has taken a lot of the theories about because people like analyze Batman and they're like, you have questions like, man, who pays for all that damage? Who does this? And this book like answers some of those questions, even though I know it's not canon or whatever. It's nice to see somebody who's like, yeah, I'm gonna address some of those bullshit things about superheroes.
Yeah, it's cool because it's like you got this character that's been around for almost 80 years now, right? And he kind of took the story and turned it. He kind of turned it upside down, and he's like, "Here you go, and here's the White Knight. What if Joker was the hero? But he's not really. And what if Batman was the villain? But it's not really. But it's just another way to explore the characters, and I think he does a great job with it.
Okay, did you want to talk about anything else today, or?
Yeah, do you want to do one more real quick or no?
Sure.
All right, so I wanted to talk about this last time, Ubik, but it's a Philip K. Dick book, and you've read this too, right, John?
Yes, it's probably my favorite Philip K. Dick story.
So this book was definitely one of my favorite books that I've ever read, actually. And so basically, it's this guy that owns this business. His name's Glenn Runsider. He runs this business that he deploys teams of anti psychics to
Eh,
corporate clients.
It's Run Sitter.
Runsider, sorry,
Sorry.
and he so he runs this team of anti psychics to corporate clients who want privacy and security from psychic spies. So there's two groups of people. There's like psychics who have different types of powers, and then there's like anti psychics who can negate the different psychics. Um, there's this the thing about Glenn is his wife has passed away many years ago, and they have this half life system. So you're in basically this mausoleum, and you're hooked up, and you could talk to your dead loved ones, uh, and that's it. You could just talk to them. You're not really. They can't move. They're dead, but they're still able to have like a conscience, and you could talk. And he goes to her because he has uh, business problems and wants her opinion on things. And
And if I remember correctly, all that is set up kind of in your will.
yes, yeah,
So
like there's
his visits to her, like it was understood that she'd be kept in Half Life, so he could consult her on business matters.
yes,
Yes.
yeah, and you go and you talk to them, and there's people that don't, are kind of against doing that, and there's people that are for it, and but once you're dead, and they put you in this cold pack, they call it, and they put you in the half life. You're still kind of like living some sort of dream state, basically, right? Would you say? And
Yeah.
but you're basically um, your connection could get weaker and weaker and weaker over time. So it's kind of hard to like dial in when someone comes to visit you. Someone that's more stronger could actually overtake the line, and you see that with his wife. There's a character that kind of jumps into his conversations and wants to talk, and he can't get back to his wife, and he's like pretty upset. Well, Glenn's team gets hired by this corporation, and basically he has to set up a team of 11 different like non-psychics, and one of the characters named Pat, this young girl who could basically change things in the past. And it's a really kind of interesting power because she doesn't like go to the past herself, but her parents were precogs, and they knew that she was going to break a vase, and she went, and they basically punished her, and she kept concentrating on not breaking the vase. The vase did break, and then she concentrated on having it whole again. And then one day she came down and it was whole. And you kind of know that something was changed, but you don't. It's kind of an interesting power, I guess.
Yeah, boy, does she screw with the main character.
Yeah, she really does because Joe Chip is the character who is he tests these people with powers or non-powers, the anti-psychics, and see if they could be recruited for Glenn's team. And he tests her, and she kind of like changes the past and basically shows him the notes that he had already written. Like she was like, "I already talked to you about this." It was kind of interesting when she did that, and then she screws with him to show what her powers really are. And then she has a wedding ring on, and apparently they're married now. And pretty interesting.
Yeah. So you say this is your favorite, maybe your favorite book ever?
Not, yeah, it is. I mean, I haven't read a whole lot of novels, but yeah, it's really good. It's got a lot of questions in it, and it's like I couldn't figure it out until like the last like few chapters. I was starting to like I'm like, oh, this Pat girl is the one that's screwing with everyone, and then it kind of gave me a, and she was screwing with everyone, but it gave me a curveball to something that happened earlier in the book. Like they go on this mission to save. They go on this mission to basically combat the psychics. They're sabotaged, and you don't. They think that Glenn is the one that's dead, but really they're the ones that are dead. But maybe they're not, and that's how it is at the end. I think it's pretty interesting. And Ubik is the product that they keep talking about in the book, and they don't really know what it is.
Yes. Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was a really interesting read. I really like that book a lot. It's one of the few times I was confident in recommending something to you because you're so
Yes.
critical. But I was like, you're gonna like this, and I don't say that very often.
No, you don't. And I like the ending because it's kind of open to your interpretation, I guess.
Yeah, it was a good book. I really like that. And if you like this podcast or YouTube video, you can follow us on Twitter. Me at Johnny Redbeard,
And me at Second Prince. That's 2NDPRINTS.
and make sure you hit subscribe and like on our YouTube channel. And you can check out our website comics.blathercast.com. One day we might even have a store or something up there, and you can buy a T-shirt with a picture of me with penises drawn on my face.
Whoa, that'd be interesting.
I was just coming up with something,
On the fly.
on the fly.
All right.
All right, another issue.
In the bag.